Next, we'll do a compression test. If there is a failed head gasket, this should show in the results of the compression test if one or more of the cylinders has low compression. We're going to use a compression tester, and we're going to start by preparing the engine for the compression test. We need to do three things. The first is remove all the spark plugs, so start by doing that. Next, we want to disable spark and fuel. And so to do that, there are several ways you can pull out fuses or relays to turn off the fuel pump. For this engine, right now the easiest thing for me to do was to disable the ignition module right here. You've got the 3 coils on top of the ignition module. Next, we're going to disconnect all the fuel injectors so that there's no fuel going into the cylinders during our compression test. There are 3 on each side. 1, 2, 3. These connectors you just need to push in on this bowed metal part to release the clip. So on this third one, you just reach down with your thumb or with a screwdriver if it's hard to get to, push in on that metal clip and pull the connector off, just like that. They'll probably be pretty tricky because they've been on there a long time. Next, we're going to install the compression tester. It'll come with a variety of adapters and different thread sizes on the end of the hose that connects to the compression tester itself. So just locate the correct adapter or just thread the hose in directly to your spark plug hole. And so that's what we're going to do on this car. Start with the adapter, thread it into the spark plug hole, and then the end of this will thread into the adapter, and then it'll lay right there on the engine. After installing the compression tester by hand, remember, don't use any tools. You don't want to get it too tight. Each of the adapters has a rubber gasket connecting them to maintain a seal, so you don't need to use tools to get it super tight. Those rubber gaskets will seal it well enough. Just leave the compression tester laying on top of the engine and make sure it's not in the way of any moving parts. Make sure it's just up and out of the way as we begin our compression test. As we begin the compression test, you'll notice that with each rotation the compression results will jump up a little bit more until they finally even out at the peak of that cylinder's compression. You'll notice you'll want to try to get 4, 5, or 6 rotations on that cylinder to reach the peak compression. Any less than that and you might not get the correct reading, and any more than that is really unnecessary because it's not going to go up very much more. So in our first compression test we had a result of around 180, 190 between the first and second test. So 190 psi is sort of the compression we're looking for. You really have to do a test of all the cylinders to compare the highest and lowest number. They're supposed to be within 15% of each other. If there's a greater difference between them than 15%, we know there's a problem in one of those cylinders. Most engines will have compression, static compression on a test like this between 100 and 250 psi, depending on the engine, depending on the compression ratio of the engine, depending on the tightness of the rings, depending on whether the engine is warm and cold. It can vary a lot, but what you really want is consistency through all of your results. And so now we're going to test the middle cylinder on the front, and we'll see what the results are. So there we've got 100 psi. That's a lot lower than 180, definitely more than 15%, and it's likely that the head gasket leak is in that cylinder or between that and the first cylinder or somewhere around there.